many times have you learned the new information, how to do something, what to do to bring certain results that you want, to finally become successful, to finally get this thing you desire so much? How many podcasts have you watched? How many YouTube videos have you watched? How many reels have you watched that told you what to do to change things in your life? And yet here you are. Maybe not so much things did change in the way you wanted them to. And that's exactly what I will be talking about here. You see, I think there is a different kind of information, and sometimes we confuse what information can change what in our lives. Sometimes we're listening the methodology, we are listening the house, we are listening to what to do, what actions to take, to which results to achieve. Sometimes we learn the, let's call it operational information. We learn the operational information, and which is, logical thing to do, right? You think quite inductively. You think, so, right, I observe this person does this thing and achieves this result. If I'll do these things, I'll achieve that result. That's great. Except sometimes we think in another manner. We listen to the person in a manner that this person has what I want to have, the kind of life I want to have, the kind of success I want to have. And if I listen to him, that's exactly where I will be. I will be at where he is. I'll have the kind of character he has. I'll have the kind of life he has. This might be true, but you might be missing something. So I want to share you how oftentimes our perception is formed. So we have a contact with reality. We talk to people, we interact with people, we do some things, right? We observe something. So we have a contact with reality, and this context shapes our experience, right? Now, the problem with experience is that this experience, this data, right, that we take in, it's not it's a perceptional data, right? So it's already interpreted by our brain, basically. It's interpreted based on, our past data, based on many things, but this experience forms our perception, right? Okay, and so we have the perception, we have the interpretation of our experience, which might be, it can be pretty much subconscious too. It doesn't necessarily have to be rational, but it can be rational as well, but not only. And then, based on what perception we have on things, on the world, and what the things in relation to us, in relation to what we can do with them, to achieve what, and all sorts of other relations, we take on the behavior. We take on the attitudes towards things, right? And this behavior, these attitudes were taken on this kind of like the patterns of action we then live out. And we think, I want to change my behavior. So this behavior that I have right now, it's not working. It's not getting me what I want. So if I'll change these attitudes, if I'll change this behavior, if I'll just cross it out and replace it with something better, then everything will be alright. I'll get what I want. And you learn how you need to schedule things in your calendar. You learn what kind of workout you or programs you need to be having to achieve the result. But the problem is you're still not following through that. You wake up and you still have, maybe, it gets you through a couple days or months, or it's really depending on you. But at some point, old patterns re-emerge, and then you question yourself, what didn't work? I know what to do to achieve the things, but I'm not doing them. I might be lacking self-control. And what a lot of people think, wow, okay, so that's it. I can blame myself on being that undisciplined. And, no matter how much I learn things, I cannot go through them, because even though I know how to do things, I'll never get to do it, right? And right now, in the world, there's so much information out there. There is so much information on how to do things. Our problem a lot of times is that even knowing what to do and how to do it, we don't do it. And I want to suggest the idea that we need to start considering all other things before changing our actions too. Because there is no action in the vacuum. The action, acting out your perception that's been formed through experience, that is your interaction with the world you live in. You need to understand it. Because if you think that your action in a vacuum, you suppose that if you'll do what that person does, you'll achieve the same result. And while that might be the case, you might not even get into doing these things because you have skipped on considering all the motivations that are coming from your perception, that are coming from your experience, that are coming from your contact with the actual things. So let's figure out what we can do instead. Alright, so instead of just watching new videos, more videos, and just thinking about what actions and actions only you need to take to get a certain result, let's do this as well, but be slightly more considerate. Let's be considerate of your current perception. So you already lived some life and had some life experiences, right? Together your experiences, and you formed your perception. Okay, so this is your current perception. Your current perception shapes your behavior and shapes your current life by shaping your attitudes to it. Let's start considering it as well. And I want to bring you one example. Imagine you're watching some speakers. Let's take Hermosi. You're watching Hermosi, you're watching his video because you want to be well, you want to really be successful, you want to be like Hermosi, you want to have the kind of success he has. You don't maybe even know which specific success, how you want it to look exactly, but you want something better in your life, and so you watch him and listen to him, and he tells you, let's say, but maybe he doesn't tell us it or tell us exactly the opposite, but let's suppose he's telling you, well, you need to use AI to be successful right now. So that's what he tells you, right? And so you're what? Or he tells you you need to start a business to be successful. I don't know. That's basically we're just imagining it. That's not might be the case. This is an imaginary scenario. And so you're listening to him and you're like, okay, so I need to start doing these things to get what he has, to finally have something. Right, you do need that, but your current perception is not enough, or maybe it's not built, maybe it's not a right model to be informing the actions you need to have to get the results that he has. You can't even get yourself to work that hard. You can't even get yourself to be that prioritizing. You can't even get yourself to say no to other things, working 16 hours in a day, etc., etc., etc. You can't even get there. And the reason why is not because you don't know what to do, is because your current beliefs, underlying perceptions, is not the right model to produce the needed action. And instead of asking yourself, what is he telling me to do? You can ask yourself, what is it that made it a case for him to have these kind of actions needed to achieve this success? What it made the case for him? What kind of beliefs made a case for, what kinds of fears, what kind of desires made it the case for him to be able to work that hard, to be able to say no to other things, to be able to prioritize, to be able to do that all I need to do to achieve the certain results. So you're going a little bit deeper into your analysis. You're saying, what do I need to do or to believe? What do I need to have in the first place so I would be acting like this? Because it might be just the case that you can't think yourself into a character, that you cannot reason yourself into the kind of person, reason yourself out into the kind of person that would make it possible. Why? Because you might as well reason yourself into being attracted to some kind of person, but that's not how the things work, right? You can't just say, it would be something like manifesting, right? You can't just say like, no, my work matters, my work is fulfilling to me, my work is valuable, and just by reasoning it out, or just like by telling it to yourself, make it the truth. You need to believe it actually on all of other levels, on emotional level, on perceptional level, and so you need to actually believe it to be real, like with your whole self. And how would you have it? Well, you would have it if that would be your actual perception, formed by an actual experience that you had from interacting, from having the contact with actual things in the world. Maybe people, maybe places, maybe environments, maybe situations, etc. And so what I could be asking instead, right? I could reason what made it is the case for him what kind of beliefs possibly could push him to these actions, could produce these actions, what kind of beliefs, or what kind of, I could even go deeper, I could ask myself what kind of environments would produce these beliefs. I could ask myself, what does he believe is the case? And maybe he believes so, maybe I could say, well, why does he feels that this urgency, why he feels the urgency of the hard work, why does he feels the urgency of the success and achievement? And I could say, ask myself, well, what kind of things would make it feel urgent and really important, so you would ask. And I could reason, I could say, well, it could be both a strong desire to be achieving, to be useful, to be recognized, to be influential, to be capable and competent and strong, instead of, and again, the opposite side of desire, fear, instead of being weak, incapable, immature, irresponsible, unimportant and non-influential, not valuable and not even noticeable. Okay, so maybe that perception, maybe these beliefs, maybe these desires, maybe that motivation could then drive this action. Okay, well, I can't just tell myself what kind of beliefs to have. What then would I need to do? Then I would need to ask myself, okay, I could reason again. What kind of experience I would need to have that could produce in me the similar beliefs? Let's imagine I would need them, right? To also have the feelings of urgency to work hard and to achieve a lot. And what context I would need? And then I could say, oh, well, maybe when you're around really successful people, you feel miserable by not having anything. Maybe when you're around influential people, you feel small in contrast. Or maybe when your life gets so miserable and you have no power in it, and it brings you such a strong pain and discomfort, you realize that you need to be strong and you need to be competent and capable, etc. Okay, so maybe that's what kind of environment that could produce in me that development. So, and you might be wrong. These interpretations, these assumptions might be wrong, but you might kind of test it and see, right? You can run a small test. It's actually quite possible to do. Once you realize, you can reason this part. You don't have reason yourself out into believing something. You can reason what actions you need to take, what you can do, to then this belief would be formed naturally. Right? Because you can't reason out the belief, like, here you are, believe in this, my body. No, this is experiential. This perception formed through experience. You need to get it. You need to actually have the contact with something real to shape this experience. So you find out what it is that can change you, and you go for it, and you see what happens, and then you might be changed, right? And here you're not just living it all out to logic, and not only to your cognitive capacity, because some people would think that self-control is only matter of your cognitive ability, while it might not be so. You allow not only you to have cognitive control over everything, you allow a world to shape you in a way you want to be shaped. You go into environments that push you farther. You go to people that nurture your creative capacity. You go to environments that challenge you and change your perception. You allow this change to happen in the first place. And so you might understand that prepositional learning is not enough. It's not enough to learn the rules. You need to live and be learning through an actual experience. And you can reason some part, what kind of experience you want to have, so some kind of things would be formed in you, but you do need this experiential part, because you're not only your thoughts, you're what you feel inside, how you live and what you do and how you feel about it, and then what you think about it, etc. So don't blame operational information on how to do things for not completely transforming your life and not completely transforming your character. You might still, it's still useful. You just give too much weight to it. You need to go a little bit farther and see that there is some perceptional realities out there. You believe certain things, and these beliefs might be the foundational problem of why you have this kind of life. you do in the first place. And then maybe if you would change these beliefs that are really experience, not just thought, then it wouldn't be that hard, to be scheduling the things and be pushing yourself, because not pushing yourself would be felt more disastrous than to be working hard. It actually can be the case with the right perception. So imagine a person who maybe being abandoned at some point, or mistreated, or maybe for one or other reasons, that might be that the mentioned ones, he has a low self-esteem, and so he thinks he has this underlying experiential belief, has this perception that people leave, that people are selfish, and when they get what they want, they leave, and if they are with you, if they didn't have left you yet, it's just because they still might gain something from you. And so this belief would make him really suspicious and would form the expectations. Okay, when will you leave? When you'll get what you want from me, and when I'll stop being useful to you, you'll leave. And so this belief will make the person to look into the signs that would signal that the person becomes distant. He would be more looking into these signs, and he would be more sensitive to any changes in his partner, and he would be more, his foundational belief would really just be forming his attitudes towards himself, reality, and people. And imagine this person is dissatisfied with his relationships, and he's like, well, I really want to rather be close with my partner, because in the first place maybe he thinks that his partner is about to leave him when it might not be necessary case. And so he is watching the video and he's like, oh, to be close with the partner, I need to be spending more time, more enjoyable time with my partner. I need to be maybe making gifts to my partner, or maybe something opposite. Maybe I need to distance myself and show that I don't really need my partner that much, etc. He watches some methodology guidance on what to do. He takes it on, but his perception is the same. He still believes that people are essentially selfish and will leave him if allowed. If they would have the chance, whenever they wouldn't need him anymore for themselves, they would do that. So his perception didn't change. He's trying to implement all this method to keep the person. His insecurity still would be present. He would still be really sensitive and suspicious, and the partner might notice it and might not like it, might not feel in a safe space around this person. And though the person would change his actions, it would slip out because of his perception that didn't change. He would still be very cautious and attentive to what his partner is doing, because he would still have this expectation out there. And maybe no one would be there to tell him, brother, change your perception first. It's your belief that makes your relationships a problem for you. He might be thinking, oh, wait, that's the problem with me not being disciplined and controlling enough to keep the partner, etc., etc. While that might not be the case. If you do want to have some control in your life, have an understanding of your beliefs and what kind of influence they have in your life. And also build an understanding what kind of other beliefs and perception could produce what, and what you might be doing to actually be changing your perception and adapting it as you want, depending on, well, who you want to be and what kind of life you want to be having. And this is the sort of really control that actually reason can give you. You don't have to directly influence your, be in a full charge and in a full control of your action and behavior. You have part control of it, and another part is unconscious. You can partly influence this unconscious by influencing where you're at, with what people you're communicating with, and what, and seeing, well, what it shapes in you. And if it shapes in you something you don't want to have, or you see that brings only misery in your life, maybe you could be changing that, right? So you still might give these credits to the life's contact, of your contact with life, with the world, and the things in it that shape your experience. And you can give this credit to experience to be forming your perception, to naturally then lead to, your character. So sometimes when we hear something, our perception does change, by the way. Don't misunderstand me. That's why we watch a lot of movies or don't, depending on you. That's why I will read books. That's why I will so social, because, well, this all includes exactly the same. Because our experiences, actual experiences, lived experiences, all of that, movies, books, people, right? People, and here books, all of that are about some actual contact with the world and an actual experiences it formed. And when we read about this contact, our own experience is formed and our own perception is changed and influenced. So not all of the things are about operational knowledge. Some of things they are about perceptional, and not all podcasters tell you, to start scheduling things and using calendars. Some really shift your perception. And don't get me also wrong. Sometimes you do need to really learn the operational knowledge. Sometimes you are already competent. You already have this capacity. You already got the motivations. You just need to know what exactly to do, what exact results to achieve. And so I'm just there to highlight this gap of us sometimes expecting to change things greatly in our life without changing the perception. And I would say that maybe perception is the most influential things here, because it really underlies your motivation, your desires and fears.